For Jefferson, and all three of you now have talked about the fact that you want to be the police commissioner. And we do have a gang task force. But since the first of the year, with a gang task force in place, there have been 38 gang-related shootings. What, as mayor slash police commissioner, would you do to abate that?
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of things. First, we've got to recognize that the gang challenges facing our city are different than they were in the 1990s. When I was at Grant High School, the Crip Blood, Jefferson Grant conflict raged for more than a year. And now the gang activity we have includes Asian gangs, includes Eastern European, includes Latino. It is not all English as first language. It is not all monotheistic. So we need to, in our gang services, make sure we are broadening the breadth of cultural understanding, broadening our reach of language, broadening the inclusion of the people who are working within it. Second, we need to start early. Once somebody's joined a gang, I'm not prepared to say it's too late, but it's later than it ought to be. We need to do what we can. What we are proposing as part of that is what we're calling Portland Summers, which includes youth employment. In Boston, they're doing 10,000 summer jobs. Here, through Work Systems, Inc., Portland is doing about 100 to 300. We can do way better in giving young people opportunities for meaningful lives outside of youth violence and gang activity. And then, yes, we got to work with the gang task force. Yes, we do have to engage directly, get out of the cars, have police officers directly engage with potential and current gang members, include enforcing the current laws, that includes jail time. But before we get there, we got to start earlier where it's less expensive and where it's more effective.
Either one of you care to respond? Charlie?
I agree that the front end is really important, but not just what the city does. My wife and I were at the Jefferson Grant game last fall, and it was a wonderful community event, as it always is, but there was always that vigilance and concern, and the gang enforcement team officers were there, and we have great gang enforcement team officers, and the wonderful outreach workers from Brothers and Sisters Keepers were there, all hoping and praying and working to try to avoid the next killing. And yet that was the night, of course, that just an hour or two after the game, DeAndre Clark was shot and killed just a couple of blocks from the high school. And I got text messages all night long from those gang outreach workers at Brothers and Sisters Keepers. So it's not just the city, it's the faith community, it's the nonprofit community, it's a whole bunch of institutions that have to work together on the front end and all the way along to give our kids better choices. It is those summer jobs programs in the parks. It is better opportunities in employment for our young people as they leave school, and it is, above all, a great public school system, which is currently at risk in our city, and we have to have that as well to give them hope.
Thanks, Charlie. Eileen?
Yeah, I went to Julio Marquez's memorial service. It was the young man who was killed last fall in gang-related activity. And it's just heartbreaking to see what this is doing to our families. Not only is this the 38th gang-related shooting in 2012, but it's significantly higher from where we were last year. Last year, about this time, it was somewhere around 25, approximately. So we have a trend here that is not going in the right direction. So not only am I going to chair the Gang Violence Task Force, but I'm going to bring my organizational development background to working with meeting the diversity goals inside our police force. If we really wanted to have our force reflect our community, our force we would have double the number of African American members. We would also have triple the number of Hispanic or Latino members. So I'm going to bring my HR direction background to that challenge. And a youth job corps is absolutely what Portland is craving. We do have to work upstream. I'm going to build one of the biggest private, publicly funded youth job corps that we have seen. And we will be working upstream. We'll be working so that these individuals have an economic future. They have a way to support themselves and have a sense of self. In addition, I have also proposed a global budgeting system. I bring my organizational background to say the city and the county have to work much more closely on public safety. The chair, Jeff Kogan, and I have already talked about having a global budgeting process where we have shared priorities and we actually budget cooperatively and together so that we can have a holistic approach to our public safety system.
Time's up. All right. Thank you.